Good day. Thanks for tuning into my video today. What I've actually turned this, so this is a continuation from last week's iconic old school 1970s, early 1970 Bigfoot documentary. What I'm actually turning this into is this is kind of a tribute to Robert W. Morgan, and I'm going to start doing a video series about what I call the four horsemen of Sasquatch. So that's Morgan, Renee DeHinden, John Green, and Peter Burns. So we're going to continue on with some Patterson footage, some older perspectives that are really cool. I'm not going to interrupt this. I'm just going to let it play. Really impressed with the amount of work and time and dedication that all these men put into this discovery. Literally a lifetime's worth of discovery. And you'll see with Robert Morgan, the amount of people that he got involved with this, the amount of work and time. I have no idea how he was able to take this to such an incredible level. And worst of all, to really not succeed at the end of the day. So, but tremendous respect to Robert Morgan. He is now in his late 80s, I believe 87. He's still around. You can find him on Facebook. He's Robert W. Morgan. I would encourage you to look him up. I just saw a picture of him with Bob Gimlin on Facebook, which was absolutely amazing. And let's get into this documentary, and I'll close it off just in a few minutes.
Well, this footage proved to me that these creatures are real and that they do exist.
Now, how tall would you estimate that one to be?
This creature was estimated by scientific methods to be about 7.5 to 8 feet tall. He was taking a stride of about 47 inches to 65. After he became spooked or more scared, he stretched to 65.
Now, how does the length of that stride compare to, well, let's say the average stride of a man?
Well, the average stride of a man is maximum stride of a man would be about 3 feet.
Now, that arm appears to be proportionately longer than, say, a human arm. Have there been any estimates worked out on that?
Yes, there has. The arm is, and always has been in all sightings, in all cases, definitely longer than a human's. Here the creature shows large pendulous breasts. The indication here, of course, is that it is a female creature.
Do you expect to capture one of these?
Well, this is, of course, I suppose you'd call the finale of our whole program is to make a capture. We want to make a live capture, and with this, we are using tranquilizing equipment. We hope to bring one of these things in with a live capture, live and unharmed, to prove once and for all that this does exist. And since it does exist, maybe then there can be laws and things passed to protect these creatures so that they'll never become extinct.
In the past 2 years, there has been a new undertaking by all concerned investigators to consolidate all of their data. All new sightings are investigated and reported on a lengthy questionnaire. Then this information is programmed into a computer. These computer reports and correlations are available to all of the participating investigators upon request. In this way, each investigator can carry on his own work with a much more complete source of data. Along with the computer reports, the most modern equipment is now being used, as it is here in this camp. Procedures have been worked out to cover every aspect of a capture. In the past, many sightings went unreported for fear of ridicule. Law enforcement officers got most of these reported sightings, and most of the people that did the reporting were considered some kind of a nut. Now a central reporting system has been developed, and all sightings can now be reported to our Portland headquarters by simply dialing Bigfoot, Portland, Oregon. Other information can be obtained by writing Bigfoot, Portland, Oregon.
It was inevitable that sooner or later these sightings and observations would result in something specific. That someday someone would come forth to try to prove or disprove once and for all the validity of these stories. One Bob Morgan decided to take on the task.
It's late spring when Bob Morgan arrives at Cougar, Washington to renew his search for Sasquatch. After 5 years' research, he feels this is a prime area for contacting the creature. Others will be coming from all corners of the United States to aid in the search. Don Blake, biologist. Lamont Hardy, botanist. Anne Swain, sociology researcher. Michael Polesnik, expert tracker. Elizabeth Moorman, naturalist. Anthropologist Peter Lipsio. Ted Ernst, Sasquatch researcher. John Crowder, biologist. Len Aiken, woodsman and Indian historian. Mary Jo Flory, microbiologist. For the next 3.5 months, this diversified group of scientists and researchers will live and work in the woods, gathering evidence, looking for tracks, and trying to establish contact with a creature who some call the American Abominable Snowman. They'll scout alone at times, or work in small groups from field tents located at strategic positions in the wilderness. Keeping it all together is Robert Morgan, who will split his time between base camp and the field positions.
I hope you understand, I didn't come out here to win friends and influence people. I may be wrong in what I do, but it's all for one purpose, and that is to get the job done.
By his own definition, Morgan's a tough, hard-driving man who can't rest until he's gotten the job done. An early riser, you'll often see him working late into the night. He's tough because he has to be. It's the key to survival in this mountain wilderness. What gives Morgan his drive? Why is he so persistent in his search for something which others say doesn't exist? What keeps him going in the face of unrelenting ridicule and unfavorable odds? There can be no other explanation than his own personal encounter with Bigfoot 20 years ago. It was in these woods that Morgan found himself face to face with a giant.
Well, it all began for me in March of 1957 when I was hunting in Mason County, Washington. I saw a creature there, came face to face with it. The most man-like looking gorilla I'd ever seen. This is how I described it, because I didn't know. I'd never heard of Bigfoot, never heard of Sasquatch, the Omaha, or the Yeti. I had never heard of any of that. And all of a sudden, I came face to face with this creature, about 40 yards away, I guess he was. And he had the most knowing look on his face. His eyes. I remember the eyes, I think, more than anything else. And then I discovered, much to my surprise and shock and dismay, when I tried to report it, it was treated as though it was a hoax, as if it were a joke. This creature does exist. It's here. It's all around us. We can learn from it. And yet modern science has turned its back on it. They don't want to know about it. Now, that makes me madder than hell.
We are told that giants live only in storybooks and dreams. If this is the case, then a lot of people have had the same dream about Sasquatch. Stories and legends of the creature date back hundreds, if not thousands of years among American Indians. Masks, tribal rites, and rituals have been dedicated to the creature. And he's known by 100 different names: Siatik, Oma, Bushman, Skookum, Wild Man, Sunaqua, Bigfoot. By any name, his description comes out the same. The creature is large, very large, standing 8 feet tall and weighing nearly 800 pounds. He's muscular, has little or no neck, and is bipedal, which means he walks upright, like man on 2 legs. The tracks he leaves behind tell the story. Like the creature, they are big, some over 18 inches long and 8 inches wide. The footprints show 5 toes and an imprint like any one of us would leave, except for the size. They are nothing like a bear's track. Sasquatch is apparently flat-footed, and walks with a 4-foot stride, with his knees slightly bent. Each hand of the giant primate has 5 fingers, but he doesn't have an opposing thumb, indicating he cannot grasp small objects the way we can. Little else is known for sure. Bigfoot is thought to be semi-nomadic, following a trail of food which is quite variable. Berries, grass, seed, fruits, even small rodents, fish and insects. Other questions remain. Is he dangerous? Would he attack a human? While he is generally believed to be non-aggressive, these thoughts have certainly occurred to more than one expedition member, including Morgan.
Do I have any fear? Of course I have fear. But what the hell is worth doing in this world if it doesn't have a price to pay? In my own instance, I have been in the close proximity of Bigfoot, and I have not been attacked. I am alive. I feel that he had every opportunity in the world to kill me on many occasions, and they have not chosen to do so. I have respect for this creature, but I don't fear him per se.
The Cascade Mountain ranges of the Pacific Northwest are beautiful and awesome. If giants like Sasquatch do exist, this area would make ideal living quarters. There's enough wilderness left between Northern California and British Columbia to harbor a sizable population of the creatures. In Washington alone, there are millions of unexplored, uncharted acres. It's big country, where distance is measured in time rather than miles, and where even man must fight for survival. The territory is made up of dense forest, tangled brush, and rough terrain. And a few steps off the trail, anyone, including a large creature, is swallowed by the forest. The trees and underbrush provide such good shelter that you rarely see any animals, but the animals are here. You can feel their presence. You can follow their tracks if you're skilled. And there, among the tracks of elk, wolves, and wildcat, are the gigantic human-like footprints of Sasquatch, and they cannot be denied. Tracks that give monster stories credibility. The forests of the Pacific Northwest have been claimed by the loggers. But where the logging roads have not reached, where the bulldozers have not swathed a path, the country remains as it was thousands of years ago, an untamed frontier. One such area is of particular interest to Morgan. He wants it scouted for future exploration. In the expedition, only one man has any chance of entering this rugged, cheerless territory and returning safely. The call goes to Mike Polesnik, an authority on surviving in the woods. He will go alone.
Okay, Mike, here's what the situation is. As you know, this area, as far as I know, according to the people that live around here, has never been crossed. They hunt the peripheries. One guy, as far as we know, goes up a short distance up this stream in order to fish, but they don't go in here. But the problem is, you see, the logging areas have surrounded this area. It's kind of a, an oasis. So I've been wanting to go in here for 2 years. You have 5 days. Use your own time, use your own judgment. And the important thing is there's no possible way of radio contact or anything else. You're on your own. And all I can tell you is be careful.
All right, if I get onto anything, I'll go ahead and stay right on it until I get a positive ID or establish communications in some form.
If you're having problems, put up a flare.
All right.
Okay? And we'll, take a bearing on that. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
That's it, my friend. You got all your gear? How much food do you have?
5 days.
That's it.
To the casual observer, the area where Mike is headed appears tame and inviting. But an experienced woodsman like Mike knows that staying alert means staying alive. There's so much to be done in such little time. Morgan keeps the expedition going at an accelerated pace. With Polesnik on his way, he and Ted Ernst set out to explore the lava flows of Mount St. Helens, once an active volcano. They'll spend the first day together. Then Ted, like Mike, will be on his own. Wherever he goes, Morgan is constantly reminded that he is the visitor, the intruder in Bigfoot's territory.
In his element, he is king. We are the invaders. He has no fear, builds no cities. He violates everything that we have stood for. He belongs with this earth. He belongs here. He lives with nature. We, unfortunately, live in spite of it. He's part of nature. We create our own. Air conditioning, neon lights, one-way streets, parking meters. Good Lord. We must carry food on our back. We have to eat specialized diets. We have to have this, we have to have that. We have a high fatigue factor, etc., etc., etc. Hell, he doesn't carry a pack. And this creature walks among God's world as if he's one of them. And he leaves very little behind him except tracks. It's kind of sad that we are in pursuit of a creature that lives so beautifully with nature. Perhaps, just perhaps, we can learn from him.
Morgan receives a phone call from a logger named Skip Wood.
Good Lord, a 6 foot. Now, that was a 6 foot stride, huh?
While clear-cutting acreage in Washougal County, Wood and several others were visited by a large, hairy
You haven't
animal.
lost any loggers.
The creature,
today,
matching Bigfoot's description,
no chokers
watched the
headed
lumbermen
inside
from a
house.
rock clearing above their camp. And they watched it for 4 hours.
This is very intriguing because this is the second report now we've had within 2 months of cataloging and having the creatures come near, loggers during the day, which is extremely unusual. And I'll be en route within the hour. Thank you so very much. We'll get underway, and I appreciate very much your call. Have a nice day. Bye. Hot report. Day before yesterday.
Reports similar to Skip Wood's have been on the increase in recent years as civilization creeps deeper into the forest. They're not just limited to the Pacific Northwest. The skunk ape of Florida, the bush monster of Idaho, the Sunaquah of Canada, the Yeti of the Himalayas, all bear a striking resemblance to Bigfoot. Could it be that these creatures are cousins, members of an evolutionary strain unknown to modern man? And does it roam these woods with bear and other wild animals? Morgan wants to find out. It's half a day's drive from Cougar to Washougal County over rough terrain and washed out roads. When the expedition group arrives, Wood is eager to tell them about the unwelcome visitor.
Now, this happened last Friday.
Yeah, Friday.
What happened? Again.
Well, just happened to see one climbing up the hillside there.
And it was going all the way up that bluff?
Yeah, it started out there in that little hole I showed you there, and went hand over hand or hand over foot, however you describe him climbing. stayed up at the top and stood up there and watched it. And your whole crew was down here, wasn't it? There was Chuck Owens.
Skip told me, our boss told me that, or said that there was something climbing up on the mountain up there, and so I turned around and looked. And
Leo Casey and Bob Irwin.
I just saw a steady thing standing there. It looked like maybe a tree waving in the wind a little bit.
all I could see was a big black glob.
Dark, that's all I could tell you.
Do you see the outline distinct so that it was definitely walking on two hind legs?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you could see it. It was standing out there. I mean, it was too big for a bear, and bears don't walk on hind legs unless they're fighting anyway.
That would be my logical explanation for it, was that it was a bear.
Well, the way it went up the mountain, the way everybody describes Bigfoot, that's the only thing I could think it was, because a bear just don't do things like that.
And you've had a feeling around this camp since you moved in here?
Yeah.
You can feel them watching you.
Only thing, when I first started to work here, I'd look at that mountain and I knew I didn't want to be around it, because it was just I knew something was there, or something was watching me all the time.
I look up there all the time now because I expect to see it again someday. You just might.
The loggers want nothing further to do with this or any other Sasquatch. So Morgan and Elizabeth Moorman set out alone for the rock face where the creature was seen. A heavy rainfall the night before has left the ground wet and slippery, making the treacherous climb even more hazardous. They must make their own trail as they go. What looked so near from below will take them 6 hours to reach, and they must hurry to return by dark. Reaching the summit, the pair finds little more than a spectacular view. Morgan has chased too many reports, followed too many leads to be discouraged. His work done here, he heads back to base camp. It's still early in the expedition.
We both believe that we...
Before our film
it.
crew arrived, expedition member Ann Swain had what might have been the first Sasquatch sighting of the expedition. She recounts the incident.
I turned to my right and I looked down at the end of the creek, and as I lifted my binoculars, I saw this huge black form. And I just froze, and I looked, and maybe 3 seconds passed. And I put my binoculars down. I was really excited. I didn't know what it was. I saw it. It was large, and it was behind these bushes. And I put them down, and I called to Bob, and as I put them back up to look again, it was gone. When we got into the woods, to the forest, there was impressions, and they were larger than even a large man would make. And it was just where the pine needles had been, it was very wet in there, had been pressed down and made wetter than the surrounding area. There's a lot of evidence in this country. There's a lot of reports. And I'm thoroughly convinced there is a Bigfoot out here. Many of them, families.
The group returns to Cougar in time to pick up Mike Polesnik, who's covered 20 square miles during his 5-day trip alone in the woods.
I got something for you.
On his way out, Mike found large, barefoot, human-like tracks. It's exciting news.
Coming out of the woods next to the berries, and there's still berries on the ground. Not that long, barefoot. He's flat-footed. I thought they were human. But I went back on my way down. I don't think they are.
Okay, how far off the road are they?
It's pretty close to the mountain.
Quite a ways up.
No, it's not a long ways up. It's right there where the trail begins.
Can we get Pete Lipsy in there?
Yeah, I need to see him.
And how about up on the mountain?
Oh man, 3 hours going up. A cat come in the first night. The second night he come in closer. The third night I left. I think he knew I was scared.
Okay.
But I find something, there's something there.
All right.
All right, by the way, I think...
Large human-like footprints on the trail in an area where Morgan suspects Bigfoot could be.
2 caves.
This might be the breakthrough the expedition has needed. Certainly, it could mean one or more of the creatures is in the area or has been recently.
Can't get to him now.
The risk of sending Mike into such a dangerous place has apparently paid off.
Yeah, that's a good place for you.
You been eating well?
Yeah, berries, strawberries. Tear you apart in there. And there's snakes. Good Lord, everywhere.
Rattles?
Yeah, when I left the camp, I wasn't 50 feet when I left that morning. And it almost got me.
Right off the road. Where
Right on the trail. Right on the trail from camp. So the snakes are everywhere. The loggers have worked. It's dangerous because the trees are sharp edges sticking up like this. If you stumble and fall, it's all over. One guy could go in there and never come out.
With fresh tracks to be examined, the group wastes little time back at base camp. Just long enough for Mike to get a beer and doctor his feet, which blistered during his journey. Earliest reports of tracks found in these forests date back to 1811. A trapper stumbled across footprints 14 inches long and 8 inches wide. Over the last 5 years, Morgan has found numerous tracks in these parts. The ones Mike found are the latest in a long string of evidence Sasquatch has left behind. These particular tracks leave little doubt that something large with man-like feet has passed through here.
It ended, went into the woods, and after that, you just couldn't pick up anything with the foliage on the ground.
Pete, make your measurements, photograph, measure.
We'll photograph it up,
and take
measures.
tests.
And I'll let Michael pour some tests.
Mike, would you give me a hand here for 1 second, please? Just hold on to that, okay?
Very interesting. All right. Something's moved through here. These ferns are down.
Okay, hold it. Good.
I never cease to be amazed that when I see a Bigfoot footprint and look at it, that I really don't realize the massiveness of it until I put a ruler down. And then I say, good Lord, you know, that's 16, 17, or 18 inches. You don't realize it until you put that ruler down. And consequently, if you were walking casually by, not looking for Bigfoot, and you saw barefoot footprints, you'd probably ignore them. I'm sure that it's been done many times.
As a plaster record of 2 of the tracks is made,
Watch out, Pete.
the mood of the group changes. It goes from elation over finding the prints to anxiety. Expedition members become tense, on edge. There is the sense of danger. Others who have been in the vicinity of Sasquatch have reported similar eerie feelings. The hope is that whatever made these footprints is still in the area and might return.
I'll become part of the cast. If you take a walk back through this area, you're going to find a couple of things rather interesting. Number 1, all the berries are gone. Number 2, there is fresh and old breaks in these ferns leading all the way back up into this area. I didn't find the end of it. I just found it.
It would be senseless to send a scouting party into the surrounding woods. The tracks are now several days old, and there are too many places around here to hide. So the group heads back to camp, satisfied with what they've uncovered. By early August, Morgan has gathered enough data about Bigfoot in western Washington to warrant new plans. He's convinced there are 2 or more families, mother, father, and 1 or more young, who travel a specific route through the Mount St. Helens area. Minor changes in field positions will place the researchers right along this movement route.
We're going to tighten up. As you know, when we first came out here, we thought of 3 migratory or movement route patterns. We've pinned down one that seems to be used now. So rather than ranging out now, it's time, I think, to move in closer.
If you can't find the creature, Morgan likes to say, let the creature find you.
You can do what you want during the day, you know, do your normal tracking and ranging out during the day. But in the evenings, in the early morning hours, set your alarms, and from pre-dawn till perhaps 2 or 3 hours after dawn, I think we should be especially aware. So I'll show you the way we're going to do this. Don, you and Lehman are going to take... What we have done here, we've established 4 camps along a line which I feel is a movement route. When the creature goes from one wilderness area into another wilderness area, these areas are accessible. I cannot go into the total wilderness areas because we are not logistically equipped to do so. Here I'm trying to get him a little bit on my ground. Hopefully, they will either observe him in movement or the creatures will come to their camp. I ask my people to be in from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. to be awake, aware of what's going on around them. Now, I do not permit firearms in the field. I don't feel it's necessary. I feel that if a creature like this wants you, your firearms are nothing more than an iron teddy bear, because he's going to get you. So certainly there can be a time when this creature could be dangerous. But if you don't want to get wet, stay the hell out of the water. If you're not willing to take that chance, don't come along with me. It's as simple as that. And every one of my people, they know this, they understand it, and they accept it. Now, out of the camp, the people will rove during the day. And they go within certain areas that I've assigned, and they rove around, and the biologists and botanists are doing their job, which is an updating, constant updating. I'm getting a constant update of what food is available, what succulents are available, what animals are moving where. The biologist, the tracker, is telling me what animals are feeding on. I'm constantly aware of what is happening out there. What is the weather like? What animals have been eating by their defecations, the browsing, whether or not the animals are in abundance, are they sitting still, are they moving? Where do they water? I'm constantly aware of everything that's going on out here.
we come right back to the basics again, to the, you know, the cynical, ruthless point, and this is produce the creature. And everything else is all nice, it's interesting, makes life very exciting and so on, but that's about all it does.
Morgan has driven to the Canadian border to confer with two men who are chasing Sasquatch through British Columbia, where creature sightings have become commonplace. Renee de Hinden lives here year-round and has been on Bigfoot's trail for 2 decades. John Green, author-journalist, has written 3 books on the subject. Over a picnic table rich with Bigfoot artifacts, the 3 men discuss their different operating methods. De Hinden and Green both say the creature must be brought in dead or alive. Morgan contends that Sasquatch is too human-like to destroy.
I don't think there's any argument that the fastest way to bring this to legislation for the betterment of the species, the fastest way would be killing one.
The only way.
Possibly. However, the killing of one, how does the... I just feel that I really feel that the youth of this world and the people that are young at heart have had enough of the killing. I really feel they have had sufficient of the slaughter of species for the so-called enlightenment of man. But I think that it is time for a new precedent to be set, for legislation to be passed on an accepted species without total so-called scientific knowledge.
All right, why pick this species? Are you going to stop people from slaughtering hundreds of thousands of deer every fall?
Why not start now?
Why start with this one?
Well,
I'll tell you why. It's because it looks more like man than any other, and as far as I'm concerned, that is a concern for humankind, not for any animal kind.
You remind me of the little old lady who got all hepped up when I told her I would kill a Sasquatch, and then she went in and had a steak dinner. First thing first, and the first thing is to find proof, 100%, so there's unquestionable evidence available which proves the existence of this creature. And the rest of them is all, well, it's nice. You know, you can dream about it and so on, but you have to be cynical, you have to be ruthless, and it's no game. It's no game. It's one of the biggest scientific discoveries the world has ever seen. In an anthropological and probably zoological and biological sense, and might revamp or turn over the whole theory of evolution and everything else.
But
that would flip our lid, to put it bluntly.
But I would rather...
So therefore, you know, never mind the philosophical discussions, I say go grab him, any which way.
I would rather lose than win that way.
Well, you know, if you're in this business 20 years, you haven't got time anymore for no, I'm in this to collect the Sasquatch, dead or alive, to prove its existence, and, you know, that's all there is to it.
We have 3 of the legendary 4 horsemen sitting down and talking. Renee de Hinden was always about killing a Sasquatch. I'm not really going to touch too much on Renee de Hinden. He was a great deal of a kind of a hater of his time, very angry, wanted to kill a Sasquatch, obviously, and had absolutely no success whatsoever. He worked hard, and I give him respect for that, but he completely and utterly failed. But you could say the same thing about John Green and Robert Morgan and Peter Byrne. So, but I really enjoy their perspectives. Robert Byrne is here. We'll do some more on him next week. Robert Morgan is here. Peter Byrne will be a little more next week. And John Green was his archival work that he did. I'm so grateful for that. I have Patterson video footage. I have Patterson interviews thanks to him that I'll be getting into. So lots of really cool old school Sasquatch stuff. This stuff is really important, guys. Really, really important to see what has gone on and to know that history isn't... I don't want history to repeat itself. You're not going to see Todd standing. This is after over a decade. I'm almost 20 years into this myself, like Renee de Hinden just talked about. And this discovery is happening, though. I've had so many sightings. I've taken out people. The success and the discovery is happening. And I just want to give tribute to these great men and the women that are involved in this as well that you saw here today, that really, I stand on their shoulders, and I'm very respectful for the hardships they went through and the fight they went through and the struggle they went through to substantiate this very, very important discovery that's more important than they ever even knew. And if you want to learn more about that, how the importance of this discovery is literally about the awakening of mankind, follow me. see more about what I'm talking about. So thanks for tuning in. Take care.